Hello friends, let us continue with the newspaper analysis. And it is not necessary that every day there will be something relevant from exams point of view. So today I am discussing yesterday's paper and I found only two articles relevance besides 2-3 factual issues, the victory of Mahinda Rajapaksa and Afghanistan's Loya Jirga giving nod to the release of Taliban prisoners, or Prime Minister Modi telling about Andaman and Nicobar to become a maritime hub. So there is nothing more in these days, only two topics, but I don't find lot of scholarly content in these topics, and this deterrence topic is coming since many last few days, since 6th August has been the anniversary of the Hiroshima, and they are just trying to tell the importance of the deterrence and the scenario. So this deterrence topic I think is relevant only for the political science students, because in political science there is a specific topic on deterrence. Fine. So for political science student, you can give reference to Manpreet Sethi's view that right now a complacency is prevailing with respect to the deterrence, and because of COVID, this issue has somewhat gone into the back gear and nobody is paying attention. And she believes that since Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the number of nuclear weapons have increased, their fatal power has increased. And not only this article, all other articles are talking the same thing. There was another article in Hindu on the same issue, almost everything similar, and it is telling that the present nuclear age is more dangerous because of the sophistication of the delivery technology, and there are certain possibility of the failure of deterrence, and she believes that we should again emphasize on the need for the arms control agreements. So that was a theme of her article. I will just try to give an insight, but I don't think that is relevant, that can be a question in prelims, there can be a question for general studies students on this particular topic. So deterrence is literally means to deter. To deter means to prevent somebody from attacking. Fine. So deterrence is a old concept in security, and the idea is to deter somebody from attacking. Fine. And how do you deter? You deter by convincing the aggressor, by convincing you deter by convincing the aggressor that in case you attack, and either you will not win, or if you will win, the victory will come at a cost which is not worth playing. Fine. So the deterrence theories have been developed on the basis of game theories in international relations. Right now, preferably, we use deterrence concept primarily in context of the nuclear weapons. So today deterrence and the nuclear deterrence has become almost synonymous, though you can achieve deterrence even by the conventional weapons. Now, the deterrence has been the major reason, or it is cited as the major reason why world has not witnessed the third world war. So this position where US and USSR had not entered into the third world war is because of logic of deterrence. It is believed so. Okay, and it is believed that the nuclear deterrence, which is also called as nuclear balance or the balance of terror between the two major superpowers, was the reason behind the strategic stability. Okay, so there is a term you must be seeing in different articles, strategic stability. Strategic stability is not going for war, and the basic format that was adopted to maintain this strategic balance was the doctrine of MAD, mutually assured destruction. Means communicating your adversary that if you will attack on me, it will result into an assured destruction. Either you will not win, or in case you will win, the cost will not be worth paying. So this article was related to deterrence, and it is actually criticizing those who believe that, who have the trust in deterrence. But this author 2-3 days back also same points were there, that deterrence can also fail, and the chances of failure of deterrence is very high at present. It means we have to again bring this concern, we have to again bring this thing back in the minds of the people, that we require the serious action against the nuclear weapons. And the present situations are more dangerous in the sense the number of nuclear weapon states have increased. There is a possibility of the nuclear theft. There is a possibility of the deterrence failure, and we have seen that US, Russia, they are coming out of the arms control agreements, and in their security strategies and postures, there is an increasing role of nuclear weapons. There is also a possibility of the accidental use of nuclear weapons. There is a possibility of the nuclear theft. So nuclear deterrence must accompanied with the strong effort for the arms control and nuclear disarmament. That is the theme. So I'll just show you this article. So what I feel is this topic is primarily relevant for political science students. So this Hibakusha and all these, for political science students, you can note down these points, you can note down this scholar. And then dangers of unintended use. Among the risks of nuclear use, the highest likelihood is that of inadvertent escalation due to miscalculation or misperception. Fine. So there is a possibility of accidental use, though it is less likely that there will be premeditated and deliberate nuclear attacks. Next thing is this particular paragraph, the possibility, the next thing is this particular paragraph, the possibility of unintended use is exacerbated by many factors. Stressed interstate relations, you can say US, Russia, US, China, India, Pakistan, unchecked strategic modernization. These are the points you can note down in your copies. Arms control arrangement withering away, like US coming out of INF treaty. Other nations hedge against each other. Adoption of the nuclear posture. If you see nuclear posture review of Russia, nuclear posture review of USA, they paddle the benefit of the limited nuclear war and emergent technologies creating new anxieties. Advancing capabilities of cyber attacks on nuclear command and control, blurring the lines between the conventional and the nuclear delivery. So these are just focusing on. And what is happening? Nuclear capability is growing, interstate trust is diminishing, and chances of nuclear war are not insignificant. And then this paragraph, that we need to again bring the awareness of the nuclear horrors back in our imagination. And this is very, very important even for India and Pakistan. So nothing very great, significant, extraordinary in the article. That I found very general things were there. And it is always believed that the deterrence theory is based on game theory, and that is based on the assumption that the state actors, they are the rational actors, but they may not rational actors. As Kissinger has said, once the nuclear weapons come into the hands of the non-state actors or irrational actors, the deterrence is bound to fail. Fine. So, and it is also said that when the nuclear war takes place, and especially for South Asia, because of the situations in Pakistan, there is no nuclear safety, there is an entry of the radical elements in the Pakistani state, and the non-state actors being irresponsible in nature. So India is under a big threat of the nuclear war. And once the nuclear war happens, the difference between the Zihadi and the Fasadi doesn't remain. So it is just an imagination that a country will be able to strike back, but you will strike back at what cost? So the essence is bring people back to this imagination about the horrors of nuclear war and the need for arms control agreement. Fine. Now the next thing you can see about India and US relations. So even for general studies but not very in depth, this article tells about the same old story with new research that US had offered the permanent seat to India in UN Security Council, but India had denied because India said that seat is to be given to us but not at the cost of China, because India didn't want to annoy the big neighbor like China. So that is the old story, and you can just highlight this. So far we are concerned, we are not going to have it because it is a bad point of view, because we don't want to confront China. Fine. So we are not going to go at the cost of China. This was possibly a feature. And then this article says that how initially India and US relations were close and China was on the communist bloc, but India could never take very strong decision, and US found India's non-alignment quite irritating, and hence instead of a very idealistic actor on international politics like India, US went for the actors which are more pragmatic and realist like Pakistan and China. But somehow, because of the rise of China, India US relations are improving. But India US relations, what should be the format for this relation? So there has to be a give and take, and the author gives an example when for the first time during the Gulf War, India allowed refueling of the planes, US planes, to which were flying to Iraq, and in return India got the soft loan from IMF. Fine. So he is saying go for give and take, and he is giving a list of the things which India can do and which US is expecting. Fine. So that's okay for general studies. So I think this line is relevant. That today a new or a fresh paradigm should be used on how to structure India-US understanding, which is in sync with the common India-US perspective. Fine. And we must realize that there has to be give and take. What India needs to take today. So what India needs from US, that US should support India in context of Chinese aggressive stance on line of actual control. Then US expects India to help US in Afghanistan. Next, India needs the support of US and its allies like Israel in cyber warfare, satellite mapping of China and Pakistan, and interception of the electric communication, hard intelligence. Then these are the points political science students can also note, that India needs US to develop the Andaman and Nicobar as a proper naval and the air base. Next, India must be firm in the two areas. One is that whenever we deal with US, we must protect our commercial interest, and India should communicate it needs a technology like thorium utilization, desalinization of seawater, but we will be selective. We don't want Walmart or US industries. US must allow India's exports of agriculture, including the milk. Then FDI should be allowed into India selectively, including from US. Then tariffs should be lowered. So these are certain points which you can note down which you can use somewhere. Suppose in political science there is a question, what new fresh paradigm is needed for structuring of India-US relations. So the fresh paradigm that is needed is we have to decide on a give and take principle. So the foreign policies cannot be based on some idealistic principles. Foreign policies are essentially transactional in nature. So what we are giving to US, what we can take from US, what we cannot offer to US, and it is the transactionalism of the relationship which takes the relations to the strategic heights. Okay. So sometimes there can be a essay, but I don't think the possibility, but I am giving you 3 quotes which you can use if some question on nuclear deterrence, the need for arms control, or some essay comes that India should also press for this. You can use these 3 some quotes. So one quote is from Robert Oppenheimer, Heimer. Robert Oppenheimer. What is the significance of this person? He is known as the father of nuclear bomb, the father of atomic bomb. And when he has tested the nuclear explosion, he recited the quote from Gita. So you can always start your answer with this quote. Fine. So what is his quote from Gita? Now I am. Typical English I am is written. So now I am become death. Means Krishna is telling to Arjun that now I am become the death, comma, the destroyer of the world. Now I am become the death, the destroyer of the world. Robert Oppenheimer's. Fine. So nuclear weapon, this statement can communicate the seriousness of the threat. Fine. Now there is also a quote of Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister at the time of Second World War. Winston Churchill. And what he said, now once the nuclear weapons have been invented, safety will be the sturdy. Safety will be the sturdy child of terror and survival the twin brother of annihilation. Survival, the twin brother of annihilation. Means nuclear weapons, you will always be insecure and anxious, and if nuclear weapons are used and if you are survival, so survival is also, second use is again very difficult. And next, there is an American scholar linked to this nuclear weapon issue, Bernard Brody, who is given the credit of developing the deterrence theory. So Bernard Brody has written an essay, Absolute Weapon, in 1946, and he said that once the nuclear weapons have come into existence, the chief aim of the war, the chief aim of the military establishments has to be not to win the war, because that will be very foolish, win the war, but to avert the war. So keep these quotes in mind. Sometimes you can use if something comes on this, and that will show that you have a deeper understanding. Besides, there was also one statement of Gandhi, and Gandhi held that nuclear weapons are the most diabolical use of science, and Pandit Nehru called it as satanic. But I am most impressed by Robert Oppenheimer quoting Gita, that now I am become the death, the destroyer of the world. This one statement, if you will write in your answer, that will do wonders. Fine. So I think this discussion is useful. Let us meet with the discussion of the next day if there is something relevant. Thank you.